Hello, and welcome to the Street Crime UK YouTube channel. Please don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe. Today we take a look at a top level drug supplier in the UK who had been caught discussing sailing hundreds of kilograms of cocaine across the Atlantic Sea and was busted after police identified his Costco membership. Michael Devine had used an encrypted communication service called Encrochat to talk about the international importation of cocaine coming in from Colombia, St. Lucia and Brazil. The 45-year-old Mr. Devine was revealed to be the criminal behind the codenames lawfularbor and mixedtree. Mr. Devine was discovered after detectives found messages linking to a Costco account, his car and his love for poker. Mr. Devine, who was from West Derby, was sentenced to 17 years and 3 months in jail after Liverpool Crown Court had heard how his influence had stretched across the UK. Messages which were obtained through the Encrochat hack gave police unprecedented insight into international gangland conversations when the hack was successfully carried out in April of 2020. Detailed plots to import cocaine and distribute Class A drugs across England and Wales was exposed by the officers who were working the case. Charles Lander, who was prosecuting Mr. Devine, said, "In relation to the defendant, the police were able to attribute him as the user of lawfularbor and mixedtree. Mr. Devine had used both handles and was able to demonstrate that he was involved in the importation of multi-kilogram amounts of cocaine into the UK. In addition to supplying that cocaine, as well as other cocaine that he was able to source, further investigation into the defendant's messages also revealed that he was involved in conspiracies to supply multi-kilogram amounts of heroin, ketamine and amphetamine. The examination of the encrypted data for the handle lawfularbor revealed that the defendant had contact details of 93 different handles, suggesting that he had an extensive criminal network that allowed him to be trusted by other criminal operators for him to be able to obtain their valuable encrypted contact details. From reviewing the messages sent and received by the defendant, it is apparent that he is in contact throughout the conspiracy period with numerous individuals about sourcing the controlled drugs to others. On occasions, the defendant sends or receives photographs of the drugs that he is trading in. The messages linked to Mr. Devine's devices discuss plots of bringing in drugs to the UK in secret compartments in boats and vehicles. One conversation, dating back to May of 2020, refers to plans to smuggle illicit substances from Santos in Brazil in a cargo of frozen fish. Another load was put on a boat travelling to St. Lucia, and smuggling routes across El Salvador, Ecuador and Egypt were also discussed. Domestically, Mr. Devine, known by contacts as Pastor, discussed the distribution of cocaine, heroin, amphetamine and ketamine to Nottingham, Bradford and Swansea. The detectives who brought the case against Mr. Devine have interpreted one exchange with a user called Hasty Shark, who appears to be Mr. Devine's partner in crime. He was involved in a plan to sell 500 kilos of ketamine and make £250,000 in profit. Messages suggest that they had a running kitty that at times was worth more than £150,000. Mr. Lander said that Mr. Devine was identified as a man behind the messages through photos that were taken in his home and shared on the network. Mr. Lander added, "There were also personal details given in the encrypted messages that could be attributed to the defendant through family references, his playing of poker, or comments relating to his car or Costco membership. Additionally, the defendant is referred to as Pastor by other handles, a known nickname of Mr. Devine. Although his clients on Encrochat conversation referenced huge importation and distribution plots, Nigel Power QC, defending Mr. Devine, argued, Encrochat cases in general, and this case is not particular, has provided good evidence to the court that for every discussion there is not necessarily a supply. Mr. Power urged Judge Dennis Watson QC to focus on the quantities of drugs the prosecution could directly link to Mr. Devine. This included 8 kilograms of cocaine intercepted on its way to Wirral from the Netherlands. The haul was found in a spot check of parcels at the UPS distribution centre in London. Mr. Devine was also linked to the supply of at least 11 kilograms of cocaine and 16 kilograms of heroin. Mr. Power also said a number of references sent on behalf of Mr. Devine show him in a very different light to the offending for which he is now being sentenced. Mr. Power added, he's a family man and he's a working man. Mr. Devine of Pete Best Close admitted conspiracy to import cocaine and conspiracies to supply cocaine, heroin, amphetamines and ketamine. In passing sentence, Judge Watson said, the messages gave context to the level Mr. Devine was operating in, and he was satisfied he was involved in the importation of at least 8 kilograms of cocaine and the supply of 11 kilograms of cocaine, 16 kilograms of heroin at the absolute minimum. Following the case, Detective Inspector Lee Wilkinson said, Mr. Devine was supplying large amounts of illegal drugs and generating vast profits in doing so. He will now take the time to reflect on the risks he took and the harm he caused while serving his significant jail sentence. Mr. Devine was sentenced to 17 years in jail. What are your opinions on the crimes that were committed by Mr. Devine? Do you believe a sentence of 17 years was too harsh or not harsh enough? Also, what are your opinions on Encrochat? Do you believe it was an encrypted messaging service, or simply a trap that was set by the police for criminals to use? Please let us know what you think in the comments below. Thank you for joining us today. If you enjoyed this content, please don't forget to like and share, and if you're new to the channel and you want to see more Street Crime UK content, please don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell button so you can join us on the next video. Thank you for joining us today, and until next time, stay safe.